All right, hello. Who is ready to paint a chicken or a rooster? Roosters are still chickens, right? They're just boy chicken. I don't have a lot of farm experience. Okay, I think it's a rooster because it's got the little comb red thing. We're gonna paint this guy. I think this was the original picture that I painted from. But I think this is bigger and easier to see. So if you want, I'm gonna hold it still, take a screenshot or take a snapshot with your phone so you have a reference, but I'm also gonna keep it taped right up here. Sorry, I'm not super steady. You can also pause and rewind, but take a screenshot of this guy. And we're gonna be using our, as usual, our 3 favorite golden acrylic colors. This one, benzomidazolone yellow medium. We're gonna have a chat with Golden about that name. Phthalo blue, green shade, and quinacridone magenta. And as always, white for tinting. Check out my color theory classes. I never use black because you can make, it's not black, it's a neutral, but it comes across as black and it's deeper than black. And when you make it a gray, anyway, I digress. So we're gonna put a little blob of all 3 of your colors out here. I've got a square canvas. So get a square piece of paper or a square canvas. I think it'll just make it easier for the process that we're gonna do. And for a lot of people, getting your painting laid out is sometimes the hardest part, especially if you're painting from something in real life, if you're trying to be realistic. So here is one of my favorite, let me get a piece of tape. Here's one of my favorite tricks. I'm gonna put this guy up there. He needs a name. Can y'all see that? So I don't know if you can tell, but I put a slight grid on this photo. Boop, boop. So make a grid and you can just eyeball it. I'm doing this from an angle, so y'all bear with me. It does not have to be exact at all. Approximately halfway. That way, it's so much easier to lay it out because people don't realize how tiny a little bird's head is. I like to do my rendering in paint. So I'm gonna mix a red, which is a little bit of the pink, a little bit of the yellow, and a tiny touch of this phthalo blue, which, as we know, I mean, I'm talking tiny. It has so much pigment. See, it's already, but just to keep it from being, overly bright. So now I've got my reddish color. And the way you use the grid, shouldn't have taped up there. The way you use the grid is, can y'all see the grid? I'm gonna put red over it. So now can you see the grid lines? Because it's so much easier to see that the foot is down here in the middle. I'm gonna do these lines in red too, so everybody can see. So what I'm saying is you use these as reference points. For example, I can see that this line crosses this line about less than half and a little bit less than a third. So like if I'd say that's about the halfway mark. So that's about the halfway. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit less than that. And it does not have to be exact. And you can see that this goes all the way over here. Chickens actually have really puny heads, but our mind kind of wants to make them bigger because we have such big old heads. And then you can see here that his little thingamajobby, like the comb goes almost all the way to the edge. And the beautiful thing about acrylics is they're very forgiving. So just try, just get in there. Okay, and then you can see his eyeball is sort of, you know, his little, let's do his little beak first. That crosses the midline. Okay, mine I did a little bit high, so I'm not gonna cross the midline, but you get the idea. And then his eye is kind of behind, and then there's this white thing, and then his little hangy downy thing. Really, painting realistically is just learning how to stop and look and not make assumptions. So look what I did here. See how his comb starts like this is sort of a straight line, and I did not include that, so watch. And his eye's not that big. So keep looking at where you're rendering, and then we can see, to get it loosely drawn, this line is even further than half. If this line right here intersects here, between here and here, more than a half. This would be the halfway point, right? For this line, this would be the halfway point, and that line is a little bit below it. So I'm gonna find the halfway point, which I think is approximately right there, and a little bit below it is where his body crosses. And then it also, you look and see where the other thing, and it comes out here. So he's got a big old chest. I love a big fat bird. Does that make sense? And you know what? I think I went a little low. So that's what I was saying. The best thing about acrylics is they're very forgiving. So bring that up a little. So keep adjusting. Like, look how big I made his eye. And sometimes if I need to correct something, I come back and do it in blue, so I can definitely tell what the final was. And see, you can see that his eye is not that big, but this thing is big. And then there's a little line. See how he's getting kind of chickeny? So sometimes I come in with blue as my secondary color. Okay, and then you can see his leg makes a little, his body, his leg is at that angle. So you would go down and then over. See his little foot? His foot has an angle. Okay. So don't go easy on yourself. I know, you know, I've painted this bird before, so it's, I mean, mine doesn't even look all that good. But what I'm saying is just keep looking. So now we're over here in this back corner, and look and see how close his rear end gets to the edge. So I'm gonna put it over there. And then it's a big old bumpy line all the way down to, I don't know, do chickens have ankles? I don't know. Y'all are gonna find out how atrociously I paid attention in school. Okay, so then compare. Look at your line, look at the size of your chicken foot, and he's got a back foot over here. But it's a pretty big foot. So then I like to measure. So the width of the foot is about the width of his comb. So I'm sort of close. I think I need to make the comb bigger. So you can always go back and look at this. I just noticed his comb sticks out further than, you know, this line. So he looks like he's got a little helmet on, which it probably is, right? Okay, now let's get up to this corner. So we're just doing general outlines for right now. And I hope y'all can see this over here. So see how close his tail, and there's some tail feathers. And we're gonna paint over this, so just have fun with it. And then it goes bump, bump, bump. And then we want it to meet this line, which I made a little too high because I just met with it up there. Chickens' heads are little. But you know what, in nature, what I love is you can make adjustments. Your chicken can be as fat as you want your chicken to be. I like a good chunky chicken. Don't y'all? Okay, so take a minute to look at your image. It does not have to be exact. But if there are things that bother you about it, look and see where it's different. I still think my eye is too big. I'm gonna make my corrections with blue because it's easier to see. I see there's a big area in here that I really don't have. And it gets thicker. And there's another little thing here. Their heads they're pretty dang puny. Okay, I like to do the background and the ground sort of last, but I also, let's just put a ground. I just like a loosey-goosey, very ethereal kind of feeling ground. Okay, so do you have your chicken outline? Now, here's the fun thing about painting something that your mind would tell you is all white. Also, I'm gonna bring his butt in, and since I did it in blue, I'm gonna make it come in just a little less. Down to his, if somebody in the comments could tell me if chickens have ankles, I'd be interested. I bet somebody knows. So anyway, back to this. There's things that there are objects. If I showed you, let's see, this picture of this guy, this rooster, let's call him Rodney. Rodney the rooster. You would say he's white. And yes, he's mostly white. But if you look up close, right there's a little green, right there's a little purple, there's a little gray right there. There's shading and shadows. So it's a great exercise for color mixing. Now, I don't know if you've seen my color mixing videos, but so straight out of the tube, or like just red, like crayon red, is a pure hue. When you mix it with its complement, meaning its opposite, it neutralizes it. A complete neutral would be all three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, mixed equally, which looks a lot like a black. It's really a pure neutral. See, look how dark that gets. Now, the more neutral a color is, meaning if I get some yellow and just add a touch of its opposite, meaning the other two colors, it neutralizes it. So it could be yellow. There's a whole range between this neutral and all the way to pure hue yellow and all these primaries. But the more neutralized, the more, we're just gonna call it mixed, a color is, the more it recedes in your painting. So you wanna hold back. You wanna do all your colors, you want them to be somewhat neutralized or mixed so that they hold back. So then when you do a brighter, closer to a purer hue, it's going to pop out. It's gonna come forward from the painting, and it's gonna give your painting depth and dimension, right? So what I like to do is start with very neutralized colors, and like off-whites is what I'm trying to say. Even though, I mean, look at this. We've got so much color. If you really stop and look, there's yellow, there's blue, there's purple, a little red down here, navy, you know what I mean? And there's actually zero pure white in that painting. Turn the AC on. Okay, so start having fun with it. I've mixed yellow with a little bit of the other two, just made it sort of a khaki kind of mustard color. And I'm gonna start around the edge. And I really love painting chickens because when your brush strokes kind of follow the form, it's just kind of fun. Just painting feathers because you don't have to be all uptight. Now, Here's a tendency. As humans, we get a little lazy. I do it. We all do it. I think we would tend to want to go around the entire bird with this same color. But is that going to be interesting? Is that going to give you push and pull with different colors? Oh gosh, it got so hot in here. I think it's turning into summer in Atlanta, Georgia. So, to change it up, I'm going to add a little blue. Not a lot, and maybe a little more white. But just keep it so it's like you're making a whole bunch of different khakis. But see how that right there gave you a little variety? And when I'm painting a bird, I kind of like to do all over because I like a colorful. Let me show you some of these pictures I've collected. I think chickens are so fabulous. Like, look at this guy. Or, look how pretty. And my uncle told me this, that the color of the eggs, there's some connection with the chicken's eye colors. But isn't that beautiful? Look at that guy. Isn't he cool? I think he ought to be a fabric. Look at these two. And here's some other ones I've painted. I don't love that one. Let's see. Here's a picture. I don't know why I've always liked chickens and I always like those big old tails and all the colors that come in there. So anyway, what I'm saying is don't use the same color over and over. Try to use all three to different levels and some white. And make just different neutrals. And if you notice, behind his ankle, there's sort of a shadow. So it looks like the light source is coming from the top right because it's darker back here and it's darker back here. So generally this side of our chicken is going to be a little darker. Now, as we get closer, I am going to paint the background because I like the last feathers to be over the top. You know what I mean? I want them to stick out. And I think if you came in and did a background, it would look like you outlined the chicken. I don't think we want that. We want it to look real. So have fun with mixing your colors. You know? As I just showed you, there's a lot of, you don't have to do it just like mine. Go crazy, go crazy. Don't let your body be lazy. I can't believe I just did that. I might have to edit that out. Sometimes I forget y'all are here and I get involved in painting and then I'm just rambling, so apologize. So, see how it's kind of darker back here? So we'll keep going. And if you notice, he starts to look to, purple, then add more yellow. You add a color's opposite. So I know that y'all know this. Why? Well, go check out one of my color theory videos because I will get off on a tangent. Okay, and he's got a little white. I hope you can still see that. Oh, you took your screenshot. So see how he's already feeling kind of feathery? I'm gonna do something that have a little pink to them. Not too pink. Oh, we got a little orange, that's all right. But see how just a slight mixture, just a slight change makes it pop. Temperature and intensity are the tricks for bringing your chicken feathers in and out. So as we get closer, so imagine this, if this chicken were actually standing here, the part that would be closest to you that would have the most highlight on it would be this fat sticky outy part, right? So we started the outer edges more neutral, and as we get towards the center, we can make it closer to a pure hue, meaning less mixed with the other two colors and more white to bring it, to kind of make it pop out. Like with the background, we're gonna make it very, very neutral. Okay, now for fun, do y'all wanna keep doing feathers? I kind of like to mix it up so I have different colors on my palette. I'm gonna do a little bit of the leg. So the leg is also gonna have 3 dimensions. The part closest to you is gonna be the purest hue, and the parts around the back. So I like to start by mixing up a very dark neutral yellow. Can y'all see that? Did y'all hear my stomach growl? I just realized I don't think I ate breakfast. So I like to do the dark color first and then do the highlights later. And then we're gonna go even darker. Aren't chickens' feet kind of funny looking? Can you believe that people eat those? I'm sorry for judging, but I couldn't eat a chicken's foot. I guess if I had to, like if somebody said we're gonna kidnap your whole family, I really wouldn't like to. Okay, tangent, back on track. So I'm mixing up a very dark color for this back little shadow, and then this little back foot. This is a funny looking foot. And really take a minute to look at the chicken's foot. Like if you want to know the angle, hold your brush up. You can do it with me if you want. And then hold that up. And see, mine's not quite as tilted. They're very tilted. And then this little prong or whatever, toe, is that a toe? Is that a chicken toe? Oh. My producer's husband, Philip, and I could go off on tangent conversations about things like this forever. So I hope he's listening. Philip, is that a chicken toe? Philip will Google it and put it in the comments, I bet. It's called a hyperfocus. Okay, I'm also gonna use the same yellow up here on his little, I don't know, what is this, his beak? It's not his mouth. I need to go back and take biology. Just because I want to get that yellow in there. Now, every once in a while, I'm gonna put a pop of yellow in my bird, because I like color. All right. So please comment. I'd like to know if y'all are finding this pleasant, if I'm going too fast, if it's too easy. But you know what? Just do it. If you feel like, I know this sounds like very basic stuff. And over here I'm mixing up a red. I'm gonna make a little red for his comey situation. Make it a very dark red to start off with. And it looks like, kind of goes. Now, his eye is actually red. We're gonna have to do his eye just using highlights. But that is so easy to make it look cool. Well, watch me brick it. But just pay attention to how the comb looks. We can always correct it. Acrylic paint is very forgiving. What was I talking about? Oh, please give us feedback. I'd love some feedback because I don't want it to be frustrating. If you're having fun, your art is going to be better. And if your chicken doesn't look anything like chicken, that does not matter one bit. If you're messing around with the paint and having a new experience, that is what matters. And you might paint something fabulous and new that you didn't expect. Let the universe send art through you. Be like a little kid. And I'm telling you, I've been painting, I don't want to give away my age and I can't do the math, but I've been painting a long time. And it is so true that how I feel If I'm having fun, the art is better. And it's just a fact. Okay, I like this Rooster. What did we say his name was? That Rodney has a significantly darker tail than, let's try to find a picture, than the rest of them. I love this. I love that he gets almost kind of herringbone back there. So I'm gonna keep doing some off-whites, and then I'm gonna come in. I'm not gonna use black. I'm gonna mix these 3 colors together. And then when you add white, you'll see. So now that I have that red and yellow, I'm gonna kind of use those guys to mix in. See how just one touch of paint will change your color and make it more interesting. We could do, I think we could, maybe up until the background, we could do this whole bird without washing our brush. Or did I wash my brush already? No, my water's clean. My water's clean, people. But we still have not gotten, so nowhere on your painting have you used red, yellow, or white. Which if you glanced at it, you might think, I need to, your brain likes to simplify and make things very black and white. LOL. I was writing a handwritten note yesterday, and my brain tried to write an emoji. Isn't that weird that I've been texting so much? Okay, so if you want to try to mix all 3 completely equally and then just add white, and that'll give you this fabulous gray. And if it's too gray, then just warm it up. Add a little more yellow and red. These 3 colors, you can do anything. So if you want, you can go a little darker. Now, we might need to do the background before we really get into the tail. But I love these big feathers. Ooh, got some almost straight blue out of there. Okay, so the background, for me, I just like the background to kind of be very neutral. I usually actually, it depends on where I'm gonna hang the painting. If it's on a wall that has like a yellowish creamy tone, then I would make the background a little bit of a pale neutral blue. So just because I need more, y'all want to start on the background? Yeah. Now, one way you could do it, you could use house paint samples, but I feel like I want this painting to have brush strokes everywhere. So I am going to get a bigger brush. So I still am going to paint the whole bird with that one brush. But I'm going to get a slightly bigger brush for the background because just for time management. Ooh, I got a new brush. It's a virgin brush. Don't you love it? Nothing better. But it's slightly bigger. Okay. So the chicken is kind of the rooster. I don't know. Somebody tell me if all roosters and hens are both chickens, but so I can call it a chicken or a rooster, correct? Yes. Sorry, I thought about it. Since the bird is the white part is a little warmer to me, I think. I'm gonna make the background sort of a blue-green. Now, this blue, as we know, is super strong, so I'm gonna put a little blue, add just a teeny bit of yellow to make it a little green, and then some red to tone it down. And then a bunch of white, because I want it to be different than the bird, than the feathers. So see how it's kind of this nice blue? And it's okay. This is where you can erase some earlier lines, like right there. I didn't separate the comb. And it's okay if a little paint comes off with it. Have fun with it. But do use a lot of paint. I don't know why, people kind of have the urge to spread their paint really thin. Leave it thick. That's the great thing about acrylics, because they're basically, now I need more white. They're basically plastic, so those brush strokes will hold and it'll have texture, and I don't know, I think it's fabulous. I think it's fabulous. Okay, so I'm adding more white to my neutrally, it's just barely green. So I'm putting just a little bit of blue, just a little bit of yellow. I try to use all three colors in every color that I mix. Until the very end, we might add a little pop of a pure hue just to show you how fun that is. So see, I want it to be, like the chicken's not gonna be green. So I want it to be green enough that it makes the chicken pop. Now that makes me think about fried chicken. Sorry, Rodney. We won't fry you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of a neutrally green that's gonna not pop too much. But when you mix a different color, it does not have to be the same. See how different this is than up here? It's okay, we'll blend them in together. So I'm going right up to the edge. This way, when I do the feathers, they're gonna go over the background and feel like they're coming forward more. And maybe near the ground, I don't know, there might be like a little shadowy kind of feel back here. I might put a little more pigment, a little more neutral. And I like it when there's streaks of yellow like that. I don't feel like you have to blend everything. So, do you know what I'm saying? Leave some of your stuff because it shows that, like, you can feel the energy of the person, that I'm relaxed. Do you know what I mean? I think that what your energy, everything is vibration, right? Let's get into a little quantum physics. Like I could talk quantum physics. I do understand that I believe scientists have agreed that everything is made of energy, that everything is vibration, and that there's actually no solid matter. How mind-blowing is that? So I believe that when you paint a painting, the energy, the state that you're in is transferred and that other people pick up on it. That was deep, right? So I'm just this background color is just generally green and generally neutral. And I don't know why, but I feel compelled to cover up all the white canvas. To me, it makes it look unfinished. Now, as you know, the rules in art are, there are no rules. So somebody could come, and I haven't seen it yet, and paint a painting and let the white canvas show, and it totally works. For me, I like to cover it up. That might be from school, I don't know. Okay, so you see how your background's sort of helping the bird pop. I might make the top a little teeny bit bluer. But isn't this fun that we've only used 3 colors and white? And if you have not gone out to buy these 3 colors, please support your local art store because they're having a hard time. Amazon is killing people. I'm not saying I believe in a free market economy, but I'm also saying if you like the convenience of going and having your art supply store give you some tips and tricks and get to meet all the fabulous kooky people that work at art supply stores, support them. I have ordered things on Amazon before if they don't have it or if I'm in a jam, because I realize Amazon is pretty convenient. But I love being able to go in there and like get my hands on this stuff. And I just think it would be sad if, 10 years from now we looked up and we don't have any stores. We've only got Amazon, right? Anyway, I just tangented. I don't know if that's a verb. We're talking about art here, people. But anyway, if you haven't gone out and purchased Golden Artist Acrylics, I don't know if their artist is in the title. Yeah, Golden Artist Colors. And I'll list these 3 colors in the description. It also makes for a very easy travel kit. Oh, let me show you. during one of my color theory classes. We're using just these 3 colors and white, because white's. Using these 3 and white, I mixed all of these colors, and I could do 10 more sheets like this. See how they're not muddy? Aren't they fabulous? I mean, then you don't have to buy 8 million tubes. You buy 3. So in Golden Artist acrylics, it used to be ages ago, before when everybody was painting with oils, that acrylics, they hadn't figured out the science, and they were very bright, and you could tell by looking at a painting. Those are acrylics. Like, they looked kind of, they had too much pigment, or I don't know what the deal was. But then Golden was created, this company by artists who wanted acrylics, and they wanted acrylics that had mature, restrained, subtle mixing possibilities like these. And they wanted to not, because when you paint with oil paints, FYI, the solvents, the things you have to clean up with, are very toxic. Hopefully they've improved it, but if you are using those, please, 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 please have excellent, excellent ventilation. I audited a class in New York, and I walked in and I felt so sick. I really was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sick. I found out later I was pregnant, and I had the best radar. My body would make me feel so ill if anything was toxic. And I had great aunts that were identical twins, and one painted with oils in a non-well ventilated room, and the other one did not. The one that painted with oils died of all kinds of lung business. So, all right, that's enough doom and gloom. So anyway, let your background have some texture to it. And then I like, for the ground, I like to go much darker, use all 3 colors, and then mix in some white. But not like, I'm not gonna make it like, I'm gonna have a little white in there, but I like it pretty dark. And I like it to have brush strokes like we did earlier. Let it have some variety. And I like to do it right now while the paint is still, so it can interact just a little bit. This is another reason that a lot of people are, if you're used to painting with oils, how quickly acrylics dry throws people off a little bit. But you can, there's something I think called a retardant that will slow it down so that you can mix it a little bit longer. I don't know if it goes as long as oil painting would last and stay mixable, but it's worth a try. And if you just mess with it super fast, like see, yeah, it dries fast, but you know that. Ooh, I like this dark kind of purpley color over there. That's gonna kind of mirror our tail action. But so if it's too harsh a line, I like to just blend it in. I don't like it to be too harsh of a ground line. I want everything to be soft, but I do like to cover up all the. So if it dried too fast, you can go back and grab on your brush a little bit of the background color. Okay, so we got our background. We're gonna go back. I need to go back around here because I didn't get all the way in. That'll drive me crazy. This is why I don't want to have to go around and I don't even mind a little bit of that going on. Makes him look like a magic bird. And then for these canvases, this is a thick gallery wrapped. I'll go and pick a house paint sample and paint the edges, just a solid kind of toned down, like maybe this blue. This is a, let's see, Bear from Home Depot. Tahoe blue, that's a great blue. Okay, now I'm going back to small brush, because we're gonna paint this whole bird with one brush. Okay, so let's keep going. Get my little brush back. Painting Rodney's feathers. Let's see. Ooh, let's work on, y'all wanna work on the tail? So this phthalo blue is the best blue in the world. So I'm gonna take a decent amount of the phthalo blue, decent amount of the red. Now it's kind of purple, and just maybe a fourth, half as much of the, just mess with it. Get yourself really nice dark neutral that's mostly blue. And start putting some of those feathers on. Seems like the feathers kind of, I don't know, it's like their hair gets messed up from sitting down. Not hair, but I feel like when I look at chickens, it's a little, like a little, you know, like a little boy sitting in front of you at church. It's been a long time since I went to church. But you know what I'm saying? A little boy that combed the front of his hair and not the back. That kind of feel. Oops, sorry I bumped the camera. It's hard to get in there. And then every once in a while I like to add in just a little white. And if your brush, so I'll get my, I bumped the camera again. Sorry about that. Hope it's not making you seasick. I like to get my brush a little wet for making the thinner lines and then kind of smush it sideways. You know what I mean? Like you're making it have a sharp point to do the thin part. And I have a lot of paint on there. Now, to have some depth in here, we're gonna need to add, like mix up it, make the color slightly different. Maybe add a little white, just make it, maybe make it more neutral, maybe make it all three. Get the brush wet again. Do you know what I'm saying? So that I can make a feather that's a thinner line. Well, I didn't do it. We don't want this to be just a navy blob, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna mix some white in there. We're gonna keep layering it and then gently bring it in. I love the way this bird almost has, like we said earlier, the herringbone kind of look. And I don't know what that's. It's like the feathers are going in a couple of different directions. I don't know, does that look like it makes sense? Also, I feel like the top of the bird is kind of fading into the background. So, like I did, like I did in the painting, I'm just gonna give it like, it's like a self shadow. So it's somewhere I'm gonna mix the blue into the background color. I want it to be a very neutrally, kind of not too dark blue. You know what I mean? So it's sort of just like a shadow on the bird. And then I'll put some more white in. And then I might go back with this kind of khaki color we started with to make sure it's not, do you know what I mean? Because that looks like it's just sitting on top of him. Now it even looks more like the bird blends into the background. So I'm going to make it bluer. I'm going to make it a darker blue. I love this phthalo blue so much, but it has so much pigment. But it is such a fabulous color. Like, I'm going to mix a dark, 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 dark neutral, and look how much that pops. So basically, you just don't want, like, I don't want this whole tail, like, see how these kind of look like a little bit monochrome? That's what makes it flat. So I'm gonna mix some phthalo blue just with the red and make a very dark purple. But see how even that gave it some just variety enough to give you a little bit of push-pull. And keep getting your brush wet for these parts back here. Don't get frustrated. You're learning. Maybe you're not frustrated. So if you start to be mean to your painting, if you catch yourself criticizing your painting, I do not allow that in my classes. Stop right now, or you're gonna get, I don't know, detention. You have to watch YouTube all day. Just kidding. Gosh, I'd love to be a strict headmaster for a day. Payback. If you catch yourself being unkind to your painting, it will take your whole vibe down, and then you'll get frustrated, and then you'll want to like fling it across the room. And I've been there. I get it. I totally do. But what I'm saying is, I'm just asking you to focus on what you like. Like, did you learn a little something about color mixing? The fact that you're doing it, the fact that you are probably an adult, or at least big enough to hold a paintbrush, and you're trying something new is brave. You're putting yourself out there, because humans, we're giant chickens. That was by accident. So anytime you try something new, you have a new experience, and that's excellent. So be proud of yourself for that. And also, it drives me nuts, but people think that painting, you know, it should be like your favorite painting ever the first time you painted it. That didn't happen to me. Why? I mean, just because it looks like fun doesn't mean it's easy. You know, that makes us feel like y'all think we're just little trained monkeys and this should be really easy. So what people do is they try to paint and they don't think it's quote unquote good. And then they're like, well, I'm not good at it. Well, neither was my first painting. And you might not think my last painting is good. And all the judgment makes me nuts. Anyway, if you have a child who's interested in art, if you have an artistic child, try not to slap judgment. It is so hard not to be like, that's so good. But if you could say, I love watching you work at something. I love seeing you enjoy something new. Or be very specific. I love the way you use color. So that, because you know how children are, especially those firstborns, they will get so dang attached to your approval that artistically it will spin them, it'll take them into a tailspin. Let's put some blue down here. He's got a nice shadow. So I just basically keep making feathers of all different colors until we don't see any white. And like I generally will make it, I like taking some blue in the middle. But don't forget to go back and have those neutrally colors. Let's see. Now, after you do the blue, you might want to wash your brush because it's so dominating. Sometimes I can just wipe it off enough. But isn't this amazing? We've done this with 3 colors. Okay, so we're also going to include an email in the description, an email address. I would love, 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 love. I love it when my people that are watching send in videos of where you're painting, of your chicken, what you named him, who you're painting with. I'd love to see your setup. It makes me so happy. It makes me happy if people are just watching, but it makes me happy when people get brave and try it and paint. So much fun. Because if you think about it, this, you know, everybody knows we're all supposed to meditate, right? Which is like the hardest, easiest thing you'll ever do. This is a meditation. Because if you've been painting, if you're involved, if you've been focused on your Rodney, you have been meditating. You have been in the present moment. You know, like, hey, look, it's been, I don't know, 45 minutes. And you've been engrossed and you lost track of time. You've been present. That is a meditation. That counts. So when, you know-it-all yoga people are like, do you meditate at a party? And you feel, you know, you feel like you should and you want to shut them up, be like, yeah, I did a 45-hour meditation the other day. Because you did. Now, here at the end, when we start adding some white, I'm never going to use pure white, but closer, then it's going to really pop and bring his body out. But let's keep showing restraint. Let's keep making feathers. So, yeah, throw some white in here just to give that tail some texture. So see how it's generally darker kind of back here. And I don't know what this is, but I like that little kind of dark section. And I also like having some, I don't know, some little spots. But try to make your brush strokes kind of go in the shape of a chicken, of the feathers, like the way you think they might lay. Sorry, Mom. The way the feathers might lie on the chicken. I'm gonna lay myself down and try not to tell a lie. I don't know what I don't know. Please comment if you have correct grammar. But I bet if you're an English professor, you're not here. I don't know, maybe you are. Heck, I don't know. So keep changing up your color. Keep covering up all the spots. Have fun with it. Okay, I'm gonna do, like, see in here? Well, that's also at the ending. This is another thing I really like. When you have a red neutral mixed up, he's kind of got red freckles on his legs. Ooh, I need more paint. But, okay. Look at this whole painting I did with 3 blobs. And then when I still have a ton of white, still have a lot of blue. This paint goes a long way. And it is, actually I have no idea if it's expensive or not, but it's a good investment. So I'm gonna put some more red, some more yellow. Who named this? I mean, come on. Benzimidazolone. Yellow medium. And I don't think it's like, I'm sure there's a reason. You know what I'm gonna do before our next class? I'm gonna call Golden Artist Acrylics, because they do have an 800 number you can call and talk to a tech person. And I'm gonna find out what's the deal. What's the deal, Pickle? With that goofy name. No, now it's growing on me. Okay, so I'm mixing up a very dark red and you can't see because I did it off the camera. I did red. Well, it's really magenta, but I like, it's behaving as our red. Yellow, so it's like a deep orange, and just a touch of blue to make it darker. Just a touch. You'll learn. The blue will frustrate you at some point, but you'll learn restraint with the blue. Restraint is not my strong suit either. And then put little freckles on his leg. Well, they don't look red at all. Well, that's okay. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna clean my brush. Same brush. I'm gonna clean it. And let's work on his feet. So like every object, you're gonna have the shadow side, the highlight, the mid-tones, and then the highlight, which would be on the front. So we kind of already have a dark color, but I'm gonna do it again because the background's smudged in there a little. All right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna turn my palette around, then y'all can see me. I don't know if seeing the palette, if you can see it well enough for it to help, but just in case, I'm turning it around and I'll mix the colors near the top. And then my producer will be happy. But now the colors are backwards the way I usually lay them out. I can handle this. Okay. So I'm taking some yellow. I already had red on my brush. Touch of blue. See, I used too much. Look how strong that blue is. More yellow. Oh, and y'all, thank y'all for, I don't know for sure, but I think we're starting to get commercials. And I know it's a headache. I don't like commercials when I'm watching a video, but it's very important to me that these art lessons be free. And I would rather YouTube pay me eventually than you guys, because I just think everybody, I like the idea of giving free art classes. And the commercials on YouTube seem to be the way to do it. Okay, so we got our dark color. Then let's make a color that's a little brighter, which means a little less toned down. So the yellow with just a smaller amount of the other two colors and some white. But we have a tendency to like want to take it straight out of the tube, but that would be shocking looking. Oh, this looks like our highlight actually. So let's look up close. It looks like the chicken's foot. I don't know, that foot is looking a little, I need to make it a little thin in the middle. So that's gonna be fun to try to copy. And then this other foot that's in the background, see how dark it is? And you'll learn if you keep mixing with these colors, you'll get the hang. It's just trial and error, practice. Practice, practice, practice. And I'll do, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do, I'll do another color mixing class because it makes things a lot less frustrating. If you feel like you can get the colors you want. So, see how his little, I guess this is why they call people, when people say somebody had chicken legs, which is not a kind thing to say. So I'm gonna remix the background color. Now, I feel you. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Remember, it was a little bit of blue. And this will take practice. This will take practice. But you can do it. So, if it's too red, you want to add more green. How do you add more green? Blue and yellow. So mine is looking too pink. So I'm going to add more blue and a little more yellow. It's closer. And I'm gonna make that chicken leg skinny. Yeah, that helped, didn't it? And I think actually it's gotten too big. So we're gonna shave that guy down a little bit. That's just a toe. And then I might come in, because that guy's looking a little long and pointy to me, and do so if you keep looking at the picture, you can see, well, that background color did not match at all. Fail. Guess what? I'm gonna do it again, because acrylics are very forgiving. Just paint right over. If you mess it up, dress it up. Kindergarten teacher was correct. And sometimes if I can't get the background color right, then I'm just gonna redo it with the new one, because it's not that big of a space. But since I'm teaching class, this is kind of hacking me off. But I love you, Rodney. There we go. So see how his foot got a little big, and we took his foot down. Now his foot is too small. Now it's too skinny. But back to the little brush. I see here it's got kind of a bulbous area in the back, so and it's a little thick in the front. And then I'm going to take this yellow and make a little feather. So, the eyeball, if you look closely, I meant to print up a close-up of a chicken eye. If you have another device, which I bet you do, Google chicken eyeball. I mean, they're not all exactly the same, but darn, I had a picture. But if you look up close, it's like it's just red with a highlight. So I'm going to make a neutrally red. And I might use that to make some more. I think that's the comb. I don't know what the chin thing is. Is it a rooster beard? No, it's like a, is it like a dawdle or a waddle or something? Freak if I know, sorry. Okay, so then add some white. And you might want to get a smaller brush for this, like a little, excuse me. You might want to get a little teeny brush for some detail. And put a decent amount of white in there so you can see it. And I don't know, don't go all the way around. But then I want you to take some actual white. This rarely happens. Just one little tip of white. Give his eyeball a reflection highlight. And then we're gonna put that white in there and make the outline even lighter. I like that. And then maybe take a little dark blue and go behind the highlight, the circle part, just to emphasize it a little more. And then I like to sometimes take that dark blue and add a line in his beak and maybe a spot on the top. Red is one of the hardest ones for me to make, but it's this perfect balance between the magenta and adding a little yellow. And you can do it. You can do it. And see how that a little bit more pure hue really pops after all our neutrals? You want everything, because everything does have color shifts and temperature changes. Any object, any three-dimensional object is gonna have a shadow, a highlight. So if your paintings feel like they're a little bit flat, notice where you're getting lazy and doing one color. You know what I mean? So like, I've done that red, and now I'm gonna mix a darker, meaning all three, more of the other two, to go around the edge of the, we don't know, I don't know what this thing is, maybe y'all do. And each little, whatever these things are y'all just astounded at my ornithography terms? Don't act like you're not impressed, Morgan, with that word. I think the study of birds is ornithography. And the only reason I know that is because I love the Big Bang Theory and they talk about it. I like to put just a pop of red somewhere else. Maybe even on his little foot. Now this is red, so I'm gonna put the freckles on him. I don't know why I like my chicken feet to have freckles. And not all the way down. Okay, this is looking a little flat to me. So I'm gonna put some white in there, use that same red, just a little bit, just to give it some dimension. I think these would have a highlight in the front. See what I did there? Now, look and see where areas are looking flat. This is looking a little flat. I think it needs a little, let's go back to the original feather brush. Okay, so I'm gonna take all three colors, a little blue, a little magenta, a little yellow, mix them together with some white. Now, if they get too green or too dark, I want them to be a little bit warm. I think he's a little bit creamy colored. So that is more orange. So I'm gonna add a little more, actually, let's see what this looks like. Whatever, mix up a new feather color and make sure it's different, slightly different from the one that's already there to give it some variety. It needs a little more warmth, so I'm adding more yellow, a little more red. Ooh, got a little orange there. Well, might work. Let's see. Yeah. Now, I'm still finding places that have white canvas showing through. It's not the end of the world if you've got just a little bit. And places that, I don't know, didn't, like that looked too, didn't blend enough to suit me. Okay, so I want it to get a little brighter towards the middle. So I'm gonna add more white and I'm gonna make the mix a little yellow, red heavy, like a little less blue. And you'll see when we get to the end. And we're gonna come in and put some highlights, so I just want you to have paint. We're not done, don't worry. Now, this is one of my favorite things to do. Take some white and make one of these feathers stripy. Just pick one. I don't know why. I like that. I like that. I like how chickens do that. I'm gonna make another one. So have fun with it. Now remember, the feathers towards his outside are going to be a little more toned down, meaning more closer to a neutral, using all three colors evenly. So if you want to add feathers along the edge, make them nice and neutrally. And if they get too green, put more red in. If they get, you put the opposite in. See how this is just a nice neutral, but it's giving it, if the edges are more neutralized, then they're going to recede, which will help the body pop out, which will help your rooster have dimension. Does that make sense? Okay. I think it's really coming together nicely. Now's the fun part. Go around your palette and use some of the colors from earlier. Look at these beautiful neutrals and how wonderfully they sit next to each other. Okay, now I'm gonna let you. The power has gone to my head of being the art teacher. I'm gonna go in here and put some phthalo blue, because I like it. Now, see how much that blue pops after all these nice neutrals? So now, clean your brush, or get a new brush. I think Atlanta allergy season, I don't know if it's something's, I feel like I got a little coffee. It's not COVID, I promise you're safe. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a little bit of the pink, just a teeny bit, that was too much, and a bunch of white. Now, this is a pure hue. It's been very tinted, meaning adding white, but this is a very pure pink. Now watch how it'll pop. Not everywhere, I just wanna do it a few spots. Like I might do it along his little head just to draw your eye forward. I might put one on his chest. Not too much, because restraint, the reason it's popping is because it's in this ground of all these neutrals. Okay, I think Rodney is complete. Well, you could go in and put shadows, a little shadow line under his feet. Let's do that. And don't forget to take a photograph of your painting, especially if you're giving it away, because you're going to want to see it later. And even if you don't like it and you paint over it, take a photograph of it, because there's no such thing as a wrong painting. So I like to mix for my shadows a very dark neutral, which I just kept right off the screen. You know, all three colors, maybe a little bit blue heavy. And then smidge of white. Maybe another smidge. Now, I'm just gonna put it under his foot. It just kind of grounds him. And then maybe, I don't know, that looks stupid. Yeah, I'm gonna go paint over that. The mixing up, matching your background color is a great place to practice, because you can change it and do it 8 million times. Like, that didn't totally match, that's all right. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Please, if you can, subscribe. It helps us keep the art lessons free. But I really appreciate you watching. I hope it was helpful. I hope you had fun. In the comments, I'd love any feedback. I'd love any questions. I'd love to know what you named your chicken, or send us pictures. And have a fabulous day. Bye.